Today is the 3rd of April 2020. I'm calling this episode 1, Put Me in, Coach, I don't need no helmet. Yeah, they tell you to start with a hook, so here goes. It says, it seems mankind is cursed. These are interesting times for sure. There is a new normal and people are once again holding their breath, uncertain of what the future will bring, but they are certain it ain't going to be good. It says, but when aren't these interesting times? This time it's COVID-19. Before that we had SARS, and then MERS, and 9/11. We've had Desert Storms, Desert Storm 2. If you're old enough to remember, we had the Red Scare, the Cuban Missile Crisis. There was the Great Depression, the Great Recession, Y2K, the dot-com bubble, prime mortgages, Korea, World War I, World War II. There's been fires, floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, all forms of natural disasters, man-made disasters, and man-made natural disasters. If they haven't hit us yet, well, you rest assured they will someday, and everybody says that'll someday will be soon. And that's just off the top of my head. And every time people have died and have suffered terribly. When the crisis is over, well, it was never really over, is it? It just changes into some other form of struggle. All the while our governments trip and stumble and fumble our way into these messes and through these messes and out again and back in again. And history looks back and says, well, that guy, he was a hero. He did what he needed doing. And then we go, well, it was touch and go for a while. Could have gone either way. We weren't prepared. Somebody in charge wasn't paying attention. We really didn't know what we were doing, but obviously we did because we're still here, right? Well, those other guys, they were idiots. They didn't know their asses from a hole in the ground. And what a bunch of losers. And then time goes by. Society changes and somebody else becomes a hero. Sometimes we decide we were the asses. But do we ever really learn? What changes once the dust has settled? So the nerds and turds are still in control. The big money still rules the day. This guy is ruining it, or will ruin it, or he already ruined it. No, this guy is going to ruin it. It's their fault. No, it's their fault. Our politicians are useless, stupid, corrupt, evil geniuses bent on destroying the world to make it better. And they haven't a clue. And they're only in it for themselves. We got to stand up. We got to take charge before it's too late. But who's going to lead us? The world is going to hell? Somebody needs to do something. Will it be you? Now you pause for effect. Then you cue music. But I don't know how to do that yet, so we're going to get right into the introduction. Hello and welcome to the premiere episode of Mike's Bites, a voice for the real silent majority. I'm Mike Outland, coming to you from high atop a 3-story walk-up. Over the coming weeks, months, maybe even years, I intend, I hope, I wish to provide you with what could be or should be or would be a fresh perspective. Or maybe confirm some same perspective you already have. Who knows? I don't want to cover anything too serious, I hope. But how serious something is relative to how you think it will affect you, or something you care about. I used to do some blogging. You know blogging is that ancient method of communication that uses symbols to describe thoughts and images called the written word. I called the blog Paradigms and Perspective. You can Google it if you wish. The goal was to demonstrate the world is the way it is because that's how we choose to see it. To change the world, we simply need to change our worldview. But if you want to be relevant, you need to stay relevant. Video blogs, or whatever you call these things, are the new way of doing things, and us old farts need to keep up. Mike's Bites is the same climate with a different strategy. Or is it the same strategy but with a different method? For now, I'd like to make this a bi-weekly or semi-monthly commentary about some aspect of the human condition. Offer up some facts and a lot of objective opinions, if there is such a thing, then package it into something I hope is entertainment. It says, in time, as my skill set grows and I get more comfortable in front of this camera, you see I'm still reading the script more than I'm looking at you, and this channel, once it becomes a channel, then maybe it could actually end up entertaining. My ambition is not to stir the pot. I don't want to be controversial, although I know that's the easier way to get attention. But we've got enough controversy already, don't we? So in my opinion, that's part of the problem. Consensus is no longer part of our lexicon. It says, if you're not shaking things up, then you're not a somebody. It's winner take all, and if you're not having it your way, well, then you're a loser. These days, thanks to social media, there's always someone willing to slap you in the yap as soon as you open it. No matter what you say, someone will take offense. Say nothing? Well, you'll be criticized for that too. Actually asking people what they think, then calling them stupid for thinking it, is really just us humans being human. We'll bicker and we squabble and we argue and we fight and we do it even with people we like. Information technologies like this interwebs doesn't really change who we are. It only enhances and expands our instinctive drive to be a dick to our fellow man. Deep down, we're still no more than the slightly modified cave persons our ancestors were. The only thing that really evolves is the size of the disasters we create. And what about those who choose to stay silent? Is it really apathy or is it something else? So now we get into it. It says, there's a lot of talk these days. Be a dragon, not a dinosaur. Be a wolf, not one of the sheeple. Well, maybe that's an old saying. How about get woke? What it boils down to is people are waking up to the need to be engaged. But what does it mean to be engaged? Well, if you like it, then you should put a ring on it. You know, engagement. That's me trying to be funny, which doesn't always work, as you noticed. You know, I had to do it, though. Still, what does it mean to be engaged? Seems to me the world is being torn apart and has been torn apart by people filled with the desire to get involved to make a change for the better, as they saw it. And they inevitably end up confronting people engaged in making change too, but it's a different change or a different better. Paradise is just around the corner, and all we got to do is make those idiots see our way is the best way and only way. It's either that or they end up facing off with an establishment determined to keep the status quo, because a change in the status quo means a change in who holds the power, and power is not something we give up easily once we have it. We've got this instinct that says we need to be dominant. This is how we express our dominance ain't all that important as long as we can prove to ourselves by proving to them we're better than they are, or someone else somehow. Either way, trying to make manifest our dream of living in paradise always ends up causing a nightmare as we struggle for control because we think whoever has the power gets to call the shots. But are we really ever in control? Do we really think we have the power to decide our future? I say it's an illusion, maybe a necessary one, but reality is still relative to what we believe is real. So, if we can't really decide the future, then why bother trying to influence it? If the odds are nothing good is going to come out of being engaged, then what's the point? Good question, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Truth is, that's really a judgment call. Something you'll hear come up from time to time if you decide to stay with this are my 12 principles of democracy. Part of that is the right to abstain cannot be denied. If you force people to get involved, you take away their primary right to self-determination. The thing is, our right to self-determination is not having the power to control our destiny. We can't decide our fate. We can't even choose our choices. But we can determine how we feel about the predicaments we find ourselves in and what we can do about it. Sure, we do influence the future. Every choice we make changes what will happen next. We can learn and develop a better idea of what the consequences will likely be for an action. But the human brain will never be large enough to fathom all the consequences of a single action over time. Over my years of wandering and pondering, I've wafted between getting involved and not, between exercising my right to bitch and wondering what's the point. I imagine we've all done similar, well, most of us in the real silent majority anyhow. There's no right or wrong here. Maybe the answer is in the question. Maybe it's not whether we should or not, but how should we want to? That brings us back to what does it mean to be engaged? That I actually think I can answer. The answer is, cue drum roll, whatever you think it means. What, you were expecting some radical new idea? There are no new ideas, just the same old ones in modern packaging. But the first and easiest step to being engaged is just be the example. It's the first and easiest because we're already doing it. And most of the time, we don't even think about it. Guys, I'm recording here. Want dictates needs. Those were my puppies. So if you want people to get along better, then you need to get along better with people. Not easy for us aspiring curmudgeons, eh? If you want people to be tolerant, then you need to be tolerant, even of those whose intolerance you can't tolerate. If you want your government to take better care of the environment, then you need to practice what you preach. Excuses don't cut it, like picking up your dog poop. You can't just do it when you think people are watching. If you don't want to be seen as a hypocrite, then you need to be consistent in your sincerity. If you want your elected leaders to act less selfishly and less partisan and more wisely, then we need to think of those others as much as we care about ourselves and choose our vote more wisely too. He says, if you think our elected leaders need to be more partisan, then I refer you to that wiser part. You know, I think a future episode on the perils of partisanship is in order because that's actually one of my pet peeves. Motivates me to do this kind of stuff. And we need to stop thinking what's the use. And we need to stop thinking those others only want to ruin it for everyone. It says they don't want to ruin it. It says they might not know how. They might be going about it all wrong, in your opinion, but they want to make the world a better place too. And they think we're the ones that just don't get it. We're actually hardwired to see the world in terms of us and them, he says, but we can easily turn that around through consciously choosing to see them differently. There are some YouTubes on the issue. I post a link, but it's not yet my skill set. But I suggest you do look into it. After all, increasing our knowledge and understanding is another way to be engaged. Despite the party rhetoric, democracy is actually a cooperative venture. It's not popular rule by mutual consent. If only one side, even if it's the majority, gets it their way. It's got to be something the overwhelming majority can support. And yep, that won't happen unless everyone agrees that's the goal. Just remember, we're always setting the example. Although sometimes it's a good example, and sometimes we're setting a bad example. We're engaged whether we want to be, or like it, or not. And someone is always watching, or listening. And sure, we're being judged based on the biases of the observer. All the same, we're always influencing. Then after being the example, which we're already doing, we can choose to level up our engagement, or not, any way we want to. You can join a party or start a new one. Start a movement, start a blog, write a book, start a conversation. It says whatever you think might help. It will make a difference. It might be a small difference and you might not see it, but it will still be a difference. And a lot of people making a small difference add up to all those big changes we dream about. You might even choose to step out of your comfort zone and make a video. Just remember to let go of that idea that the difference has to be the one you think it needs to be. That's actually the hard part. Our dreams rarely turn out the way we want. But that might actually be a good thing. So on to the conclusion. We humans spend so much time wanting things to be a certain way, and then judge our value as a human being based on how we live up to our own expectations. Yeah, others judge us too, but how much we value their judgment is also relative to how we see ourselves. We're already engaged in changing the world. The world is constantly changing, and everything we do influences that change, even just a little bit. Get more engaged, get more involved, or not. It's entirely up to you. Mind you, one other way we judge ourselves is by how much we think we're convincing others to see the same world we do. So when others call on you to step up, maybe take a moment to ask yourself just what they're asking you to step up to. And now here's the final pitch. So what do you think? What do you think it means to be engaged? How are you engaging? Or why not? Please enter in your comments below. It says, if you like this, then please smash that like button. If you didn't, well, hit the like button anyhow. If you have a suggestion on how I can make this better, or topics you might like me to discuss, also enter them in the comments below. Now, this is the point when I'm supposed to suggest viewing some other videos I've posted, and maybe asking for you to subscribe, because this is the first video I've ever made. Well, not much point in that. So, hopefully I'll see you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, stay safe, and have a great day, everyone. And thank you for listening. Now turn off the mic, dummy.